let's just start by having you tell everybody about what it was like living in China under actual communism.
Well, I was born in Chengdu in Sichuan province. Chengdu is the capital city of the Sichuan province. So I was not in the countryside born as a peasant. My parents both worked for state factories 6 days a week.
Wow.
When people think that, oh yeah, everybody's guaranteed a job, that sounds great, but you must work. You don't have a choice not to work. And you also work the days that they want you to work, which is 6 days a week. They do not want you to have too much, leisure time for other civic activities. So when people don't understand what communism is, especially the young people, that they think it sounds like some utopian, and some people in this country were indoctrinated to believe, oh, that sounds pretty good. Everybody is equal, and you take whatever according to your needs, and the workers rule, the proletarian rule. It's just that utopia never existed.
Yeah.
Yes,
so,
but
did you get to choose? Did they get to choose where they worked, or were they just told you're working in this factory here?
You normally, when you, for example, have a household, every couple, when you get married with permission from the Communist Party, which is one-party dictatorship that controls everything.
Yeah.
And under Mao, there was no private company, no private property ownership. So everything belonged to the state. They called the people. So if you live in Chengdu, in this neighborhood, and you actually get your housing, so-called community housing, from your work unit, they all divided people into work unit, which is your employer, which is the government state factory, which is controlled by Communist Party. So my mom and dad worked for state factories in Chengdu, stay in this community housing provided by my dad's state factory. It's very primitive. 8 families live together in this row house, and without plumbing, only share one water faucet, and with 8 families share one bathroom. Imagine that, one big hole.
8 families
with children. Yes. And it's a big it's like a, I would say 4 feet by 4 feet hole divided at half. So half for males and half for females. And that was the worst nightmare in my childhood memory. It was that bathroom, low lights, because it's a central planning, free community housing. Nobody cared. There's no light bulb. And if you are lucky to have a little flashlight, you can go to use bathroom at night. For a girl, you must find these 2 bricks over the holes where they can squat. You got a waist all behind you. If you fall into there, that's my nightmare. And then nobody even can hear you. How disgusting that is, right?
Yeah, I can imagine.
That was awful. So, and then the summer, it's very stinky. The bugs crawling around, worms, and the peasant will come in to dig them out once every 2 weeks and take to the agriculture field as a fertilizer.
Yeah.
And everybody got a little tiny potty, like a little potty you can buy, put into your apartment, because if you have to go, you have to go. But there's only one place you can squat to pee and poo for women. So you just do in your room, then take out later to dump it. That's how we manage. There's a shared one bathroom. So of course we did not know. We were totally lack of information. Was the one party control all the press, all the newspapers, periodicals, textbooks, all the radios. We did not even have a TV. And every day this place we lived is like what you see almost like in those old Nazi movies, right? 6:30 in the morning, you have loudspeakers come on, because there was a school. My high school, middle school is right behind the apartment. Say, time to wake up, time to go to work, time to go to school. Then it's bang, 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 bang. It's red songs, music, long live Chiang Mai Mao, all that stuff. And
Wow.
so I had to get up, go to school. My dad had to go to work. So to tell you how much food we're allowed to eat, you would think, hey, if everybody works for government 6 days a week,
Yeah.
that should be plenty of food to eat. For some reason, there was no productivity. We were dirt poor. The government used the food rationing coupons to issue to your family for everything you needed. Okay,
Yeah.
like protein, which is meat and proteins, and the wheat flour, rice, even sugar, and everything needs coupon, rationing coupons. So for our family of 5, we got, give you example, we got 2.8 pounds of protein, including all the meat and all the eggs for 1 month.
1 month for the
Yes.
whole family.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Imagine you eat that for 1 meal today. And so my most time, my memory just hungry. I'm hungry because when you run out of dry rice, like a rice run out, you start to cook just porridge. Like need 1 cup of rice, get a big pot of water, boil it, then you drink the porridge. But your stomach is still not full, not satisfied. Because there's no oil, there's no grease. Bacon fat will be a luxury back then. I mean, I remember when my grandmother babysitted me, my uncle said, hey, there's some rats running around in my grandma's community, like courtyard. Need to trap some rats. So he told me to trap rats, and then we were burned, on the fire and suck on the rat meat. But very soon, the rats run out too. Yes. So I feel sorry for the Venezuelan people. I heard they were running cats and dogs out because they were starving. So no animals to eat after a while. So wow. I mean that's the situation in terms of food. Of course, we will share 1 water faucet, and if water is out of luck, you cannot cook.
Yeah.
And we burn the black coals to cook. It was horrible, right? I mean, like just that smell and all that. But if your coal happened to be collapsed that day because you forgot to add a coal on top, you cannot cook. And I was the oldest child. I had to babysit for my infant brother because the childcare was not free, not like what people think, what people get free stuff. And so my parents said we cannot afford state childcare costs because your brother is an infant, 1 year old. I was 6. I was begged by my parents to stay home, help them save money by putting off my, schooling and 1st grade to stay home babysit and bribe me with a movie ticket. I remember it was Romania fighting Nazis. Foreign movie was a high demand, expensive.
Yeah.
So I cried my eyes out because I wanted to go to school so bad. My parents were not educated, illiterate. So I thought in order to change my life, I would really the good education by learning how to read and write. And I have very good memory. I wanted to go to school so bad, but I had to stay home. I was put off for 1 year in order to help my parents. They were always in debt their life in China because they just could never make ends meet. And my dad, the state factory trying to promote him because my dad, was like a very good worker,
a
Communist Party member, and to say, hey, we'll promote you, but he cannot read. So, he said, I cannot go to your workers' university because I could not do any of the homework. He would bring homework to me when I was in elementary school to help him. So he finally just gave up to say, okay, I'm just going to be a floor supervisor. I cannot get those higher positions. But the higher positions will give us more food rationing coupons. And he couldn't advance himself. And you would think of the proletarian rule, the workers should get more coupons. No, it's the Communist Party officials at the higher up to get more food rationings. And my neighbor had a milk powder, boiled milk. Oh, smells so wonderful. I was deprived. Milk. When they were cooking, boiling milk smelled just make me want to, drooling. So by the time I finally went to school, and I did great because I was smart and sharp and sociable. Everybody liked me.
And you wanted it.
I wanted that because
Mhm.
it was so fun. Because otherwise, what do you do at home? We didn't have
True.
anything. We didn't own anything. We did not even have a radio. I love to listen to 1 minute classic music between the political news. Politics were in our lives every day, every hour. So if you could take a 1 minute break to listen to this classical music, it was like a sound from heaven.
What kind of music was on the radio that you were able to listen to?
It was a classical music.
Like Beethoven or something?
It was like a piano
Yeah.
and violin. I don't know what would touch my heart. I just feel like my eyes would be watering. I was
Yeah.
so touched. And then only 1 minute we didn't have a radio, so I had to beg my neighbor to lend me a better positioned of official labor to say, can I come in, just listen to 1 minute? I promise I'll be quiet. I will not bother you dinner time. It's always dinner time.
Wow.
And so I would listen to 1 minute. I mean, I still love classical music today. So, but it still makes you wonder why the people who are supposed to be proletarians, workers rule, were at the bottom of the food chain, and today too. So that's one night I help people realize that they will use the working poor class to get communist leaders or socialist leaders elected.
Yep.
Then they throw you under the bus. Peasants never got land in China. Peasants were getting into people's communes. And then during the Mao's like the great leap forward from 1958 to 1961, estimated 20 million to 40 million Chinese were starving to death. And they never had a museum for those people. And we were not even allowed to ask questions. I did not know they were starving to death because the Mao's failed central planning policies. I was told in China, 3 years natural disasters. And until I come to this country, that's when I realized, oh my God, how many lies actually, I bought into, because we had no free press, free speech, and the world was, totally, shocked to us. And so you just did not know the truth. Party is always right. Whatever party tell you is always truth. So that when I was actually a few years old, that's when Mao's proletarian cultural revolution started in 1966. And the reason he started that, it's because he lost some power after the mass famine. So the party decided to have another guy called Liu Shaoqi to be the China's president. So Mao was not happy about that. He's got a political opponent. He saw them as enemies. So he wanted to regain his power by use the young people, urban youth, college students, and red guards, and basically to say, we got enemies inside of our party. They were the revisionists. And those people were trying to just reboot China's economy so people don't have to starve to death. Of course, I did not know any of that. So Mao started Cultural Revolution. It was 10 years. From 66 to 76, I was 2 and to 12. And my memory at the beginning, when I was still babysitted by my grandmother, it was just this red guards and in the streets and singing. They were going to see Chairman Mao, and the struggle sessions all over the country, always loudspeakers and music. And one time I saw a military truck were full of red guards with those black class bad guys, I suppose be, and head down. Behind them were PLA soldiers, and they were singing songs, and they were driving through to show off to the neighborhood, to the community. Those bad guys, black classes, were going to be executed.
Wow.
And there was an execution public site in Chengdu, in the suburb. I remember people used to go there as kids to pick up those empty shelves. They were made still from steel, so you can sell to make some money during the big steel production campaign. And my grandmother was also during the struggle session for about 1 year, because she married to a first husband, was supposed to be classed as a so-called counter-revolutionary because he was killed. He was a mountain law out, in the Sichuan village, it's called outlaw leader.
Wow.
But he was dead. He was killed by his own man. But the government wanted to do investigation to say, was he counter-revolutionary? Because that's one of the Mao's black classes. So if people don't know, it's Mao used Marxism to divide Chinese people into oppressor versus oppressed groups. And under oppressor group, then you have the rich farmers, landowners, and the counter-revolutionary, bad influencers, and the rightists. It's like, what are those so subjective? Who is going to decide who is bad influencer, right? Or
the government. The government decides.
Yeah, the party.
Yep.
It's all about the party. So, party is always right, like 1984. So those are the bad 5 black classes under oppressors. They go through struggle sessions. So my grandmother could be, the black class if her husband was counter-revolutionary, even though he was dead. And she remarried to a red class worker. But my grandmother was
doesn't matter.
Yeah, doesn't matter. So they poke her from the back and every day just ask her to apologize, to confess, to public shaming, all that. And my first traumatic experience was one guy jumped into my grandma's community water well. So they lots of family there share one 20 feet deep water well to get a fresh water. We had no water faucet. And so one guy, one day, just floating on top of the water. I was told, there's dead body. Go there, look. And I was so traumatized. I wonder what happened to this guy. He looked like he was dead. His body was floating on top of water. We could not access water for a couple of weeks to disinfect it. Later, my uncle told me he was a black class. He could not handle it anymore. He committed suicide. Oh, it's like this is a typical Cultural Revolution stories. 20 million people died during those violent years, and because they could not handle the pressure, and some were tortured to death, some were turned on by families, and they totally lost purpose, hope in life. Why even live, right? Because now all of a sudden, I'm like a black class, my family suffered. I had to go to struggle sessions. So what I say, the similarities when I talk about today is a critical race theory. So
identity politics.
Yeah. So if you are white and born racist white class today, then you are like the black classes. Kind of interesting versus black and white. And then you go to those similar sessions to get training called DEI now, diversity, including equity and diversity training. But I saw people have to apologize and for being white.
Yeah.
And constantly talk about their what you call you have like a hidden bias, and because this country is a systemic racist country, and you were born white, and you're condemned for your, maybe I even don't know those white people, their ancestors owned slaves or not, right? Because it's like how many years ago that is. So they go through similar, there's a similar tactics and process, rituals you go through, self-criticize, self-apologizing, and and other side might want you to do something in order to prove yourself to be less white and all that stuff, like less black. It's
Coca-Cola.
so scary.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what happened during the Cultural Revolution. I was a child, and those were in my head. And I that's why I decided to say, this sounds like Cultural Revolution on American soil. Now, of course, the social justice movement has been going on for a while, and talk about this semi-quasi-religious following of our youth to follow social justice movement. They remind me of Red Guards who were used by Mao to do struggle sessions and to go looting, burning, top down statues, and to make name changes for the streets, for people who want to denounce their families, cut ties. Because let's say if you are 16 years old and your grandparents' family were classified as black class, your life will be hell. And you wanted to cut ties with your family, what do? You go to struggle sessions and you come out to publicly denounce your families. So from now on, you know, I'm not going to use this last name anymore. I'm going to change my last name from Wang to Chen because my families were black classes or counter-revolutionary. I'm cutting tie with them, and they're no longer my families. How sad is that? How
Very sad.